Lucky Charms. Look at that cute face. Good morning, future M. I am setting up VR things in Zalphus so that I can work on a game that I have been thinking about for gradient descent intuitions. Hello, future self. Try number 17. Today I was working on a game to help people build intuition for gradient descent. Gradient descent is basically how machine learning things like neural networks make there be less error in themselves. So we put our feets where the little feet tags are, feets, and we look at this weird white box. Prototype for gradient descent game. So what we do is we make sure that our fingers are turned off. Turn off your fingers. We have a reset button, and we have a sign that says drop ball onto box. So we pick up a ball, this little teeny ball, because this is just a model, and we drop it in the box. Oh! And wherever the ball goes, it makes a little line. Now, a gradient, oh, that's a human. There's a human right here. A gradient descent is basically like the ball is trying to find the lowest part in this very lumpy thing. So maybe we found the best lowest part, but let's try again. Maybe we drop it again. Oh, okay, it went somewhere similar. But let's try resetting it and dropping it over here. Oh, that's better. Okay, so it seems like that's pretty much the best area. Let's try resetting it again. Oh, okay, so now we're going a different direction. And this is basically the way gradient descent works. We're only using a 2-dimensional plane of data. You would probably be using a 13,000 dimensional plane of data if you were doing this, trying to visualize this with an actual data set, but this at least gives you an intuition of like how these algorithms are trying to find the lowest rate of error. Because this thing that you can't actually see until you highlight it is basically a surface that is graphing the ratio of the error from one part of the neural network to the end of the neural network, and like how adjusting this number over here adjusts the rate of error. Oh, look, our thing disappeared. We didn't even have to reset it. So this ball, you can also, there's a process called momentum, which helps it find the global lowest as opposed to just the local lowest number. You can like throw the ball at the thing. And that's essentially how gradient descent momentum works. So anyways, this is just a little prototype I made trying to play with this. And mostly I made the graph itself invisible because in books you will see like there'll be a graph and it'll like be this little line like this, and they're like, obviously if you put the ball here it will roll down and settle here. But actually in gradient descent it's ungraphable. You can't actually see the line before you do the ball, before you like take the tangent of a line and figure out which way the thing is going, so you can always go downhill, blah blah blah. You can't see it, but you always see it in books because they're trying to explain it, and I think this is a better way to explain it because you get to like toss the balls and you can see the thing. And then if you really want, you can change day to night. So we have a different background. You can sort of like lean over here and you can see that there's this surface here. So yeah, that's what I was working on today. And I want to build up a library of these kinds of toys and experiences and just like ways of getting a better intuition for how these things work. And then also think about just what is literacy in this field? How literate do you need to be at different levels of interaction? How literate do just like Twitter users need to be versus people who want to make their own machine learning algorithms like you would make your own website versus like people, you know, all the way up to like, why is a certain gradient descent algorithm used? Why does it work? Most people in the field don't even know why, they just know that it works the best, so they use like something called Relo, which is like a particular algorithm. But actually knowing why it works is like people still don't agree. And that's one of the things I find the most interesting about machine learning and neural networks, like the math side of it, is that it's essentially like collaged together stuff that people were just like, let's try this and let's try this and let's try this and let's just see which one of them works the best. There's not really an underlying theory for why it works, which is what I think people find the most confusing about it. Yeah, we just collaged this stuff together without knowing how it works. Which I guess is similar to other tools, like we invented hammers and axes before we understood material science and gravity and momentum and all these things. Like before we had a science for how they worked, we just made tools that worked. And it sort of had the history of how tools have been invented. Okay, yeah. We're waiting to go on a dog walk for the world's slowest human. World's slowest human. Received a package from Right Side Bikes that's supposed to include this bike light, but literally this piece of paper is all that came in the package. It's very disappointing. Good night, future M.